Rev your engines and fasten your seatbelts. It's time for Thunder Talk with Dan Bailey, keeping you up to date on everything going on this season at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Thunder Talk is powered by Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Now, here's your host, Dan Bailey.
Hey race fans, welcome to another edition of Thunder Talk on the Winona Sports Network, 99.3 FM, and of course, streaming live online at WinonaRadio.com. I'm Dan Bailey. Quick reminder, if you're listening to this edition of Thunder Talk via the YouTube stream, please do take a moment to hover your pointer down there just below the video. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share it with your friends. You're more than welcome to throw some comments down below and subscribe to the channel so that you'll be notified of each and every new edition of Thunder Talk as it is posted. Well, we've got a big night at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. The Rumble by the River 40, presented by Herco Companies and Stone Machinery. The night is going to be highlighted by a $5,000 to win program for the Wabam Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series, including on-track action from Mississippi Thunder Speedway's own USRA Late Models, USRA Hobby Stocks, USRA B-Mods, and USRA Stock Cars. And one of the individuals who spent time this year in both types of late models that will be competing during the Rumble by the River 40 is joining us on this week's edition of Thunder Talk, and that is none other than six-time track champion at MTS, Lance Hofer, driver of the number 11 machine. Lance, first of all, welcome to the program. We've got quite a show coming up with the Wabam Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series, don't we?
Thanks for having me, Dan. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good show. Should be quite a few cars, and looks like the weather's going to cooperate really well for us, so hopefully we can get a bunch of people there to come and support the show.
Now, I mentioned that you have spent time this year behind the wheel of both types of late models. Of course, on a weekly basis at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, we have our Buffalo Saloon USRA late models, but you've also been competing some this year with quote-unquote open late model. I want to make sure that our listeners understand what to expect from you during the Rumble by the River 40, presented by Herco Companies and Stone Machinery. Are you pulling double duty this week? Are you only going to bring one of those late models? What's your plan for the Rumble by the River 40 at Mississippi Thunder Speedway?
As of right now, we're planning on just bringing the open late model. It's hard to take two cars if you only have so much help and things like that, and I kind of want to focus on that operation mainly this weekend, and quite a bit more this year, just because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there, and I'm ready for something different and to learn and try to better myself as a driver.
You know, you bring up what I think is a very important point. 6 track champions at Mississippi Thunder Speedway behind the wheel of a USRA late model. You've got nothing left to prove there. Am I sensing a change in your outlook for maybe the future? You already mentioned that maybe you're going to focus a little bit more the rest of this year on the open late model. Do you feel like you're maybe going to start a complete transition into open late model racing?
I don't know about that for sure. I mean, it's I don't own the car and the equipment, so we'll see how that goes. If they want to keep doing it, and I'm fortunate enough to have people that are more than willing to help, I'd like to, but we'll see. And I got all my late model stuff. We got 2 cars, as you know. Derek drives one of them, and we got 4 motors, I think. So we got a lot of parts and equipment for that. So I feel like I'm pretty dedicated to that yet too. So we'll see what the end of the year, rest of this year brings, and what the off season brings. But yeah, I mean, I would like to go towards that, but financially, we'll have to see how the end of the year is.
So you haven't completely scrubbed the USRA late model off the tabletop for the rest of your racing career. You've still got a lot of laps that you can turn with that car. I want to ask you about the open late model, though. Tell us about that program, how you got into this car, who's helping you out with that car, who owns the car, what the plans are, etc.
Actually, at the Fountain City World of Outlaws show, Steve Eisenberg was camping there, and he must have got talking with my uncle, and they're actually business partners, and he's getting to the age in his career where he doesn't really feel like he wants to drive anymore, and he has a rocket car with a couple aluminum motors and a couple of soda motors, and he just kind of wants to have somebody else drive it and go out and have some fun. So he told me to drive it and try to learn and see what we can do with it. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have that opportunity. Not many people get that opportunity with that kind of equipment. So Tim is Steve's kid. They're helping me out a lot, and car owner-wise, you can't ask for much more. They're more than willing to help out with cars, motors, and try to get the thing up front and get me to learn. Steve told me he just wants me to have fun, so that's our goal.
Well, that is a perfect scenario. Just go out there, get comfortable, have some fun. And are you enjoying it? Is it what you had expected? You've already mentioned that it's top-notch machinery. It's some good equipment. Are you enjoying the experience this year?
Oh, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's a huge learning curve. I mean, those guys do it for, I don't want to say not all of them do it for a living, but they do it a lot more often than we do. And it's kind of a new stepping stone for us, and a lot of learning, not just with the cars, but me driving. I've created some habits from driving the limited late models that I got to get out of to run with the open guys better, but we're getting there. We've had some good runs, and just try not to wreck in too much stuff and be able to get laps under my belt.
You know, I've talked with several drivers who have pulled double duty or transitioned, either competing in a USRA late model and another USRA class, or maybe transitioning out of a USRA late model into an open late model. So can you explain to a regular fan who maybe has never driven a race car before, can you explain to us how you have to drive these two cars differently?
Yeah, so a USRA late model, you only have 450, maybe 450 horsepower. And it's kind of a momentum deal. You want to keep your car straight and not get sideways and things like that. You got hard tires. Where the open late model stuff, you got a lot softer tires, and you got, most guys I would say got in an open motor, got around 800 plus horsepower, and you got to be able to drive a lot harder and drive more sideways, and it's just a lot different. Time trials, I've never dealt with that too much, but we're learning in that operation too. So I feel like it's a good thing, and hopefully it carries on for a little while here, and we can learn a bunch and have some fun.
So it's almost like you have to unlearn everything that you've learned over the last several years, picking up these 6-track championships at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, and retrain yourself a different way to attack not only the track, but also to control that new race car, right?
Yeah, to a point. I mean, a lot of the stuff's the same, but in the same sense it's different, because I mean, you got a lot softer tires, a lot bigger motor to save you and turn the car, and it takes some getting used to. I mean, I ran modifieds too for a while there, which seems to be a lot more similar to what this situation is. So it's been a while since I've driven one of them, but I have that experience too. So I feel like we're sitting pretty good, and we'll catch on here not too long.
I have spoken with a lot of late model drivers through the years, and it's interesting how I hear different stories about trying to pilot one of these open late models. I've heard some drivers literally say to me that it's easier than other forms of motorsports. I've heard some drivers tell me that it's the most difficult thing that they've ever had to drive. And then I've heard other drivers say that it's not so much the car, which can be a handful, but it seems like the rest of the field is so much tougher to battle with. They kind of take no prisoners sort of scenario. Are you falling anywhere in that spectrum of examples that I've just given?
Yeah, I mean, I think the competition is definitely pretty tough in this class. I mean, especially if you go to a open late model show where there's some really big names. Yeah, there's a lot of competition, but some of the local stuff like this weekend and some of the other stuff, there'll be a lot of good cars. But I feel like they're at a level where I'm able to compete at. Mm-hmm. One thing I've learned in these cars, it's almost like you got to drive them like you're mad at them. I mean, that's just they want to be driven really hard, and I'm not used to that. And I feel like they didn't used to be like that till like the last 4 or 5 years, and now it's just you got to be on the wheel all the time, driving like I said, like you're mad at it, getting it going, I guess.
So with this open late model, when it comes to setup, is it just you and your crew working on it, or are the Eisenbergs still bringing their knowledge and their assistance as far as race day setup and any setup changes that might be needed?
Oh yeah, I mean, Steve probably won't be there this Friday, and Tim won't either, but I always got him on my phone. I can text or call him wherever. We're always talking, and his son Tim's pretty knowledgeable guy when it comes to the race car stuff, so he's a good help. He ran Lucas Oil Series for a little while, so he's got a lot of experience there, and I feel like we got a rocket car, and we've been in touch with Mark Richards a little bit, and he seems to be a good help too, so we're in the right direction. The biggest thing, I just need to get some seat time.
And of course, you're extremely familiar with Mississippi Thunder Speedway, having a lot of success here, albeit with the USRA late model, but still, you know your way around this track. You know the way to attack it with your other late model. So can any of your setup notes be helpful, or is this just such a new, such a different ball game with this chassis that what worked with your USRA late model setup-wise probably or may not work with this open late model?
The cars themselves are pretty much the same, but a lot of the suspension is different with the shocks and things like that. So, and the motors are quite a bit bigger. So, cars setup-wise, probably not a huge amount you'll be able to share, but just track-wise, I mean, I've raced there for a while, you know that, so I have kind of an idea what the track's going to do just from experience of being there every Friday night. So I feel like that there is one up on a lot of the competition to start with. So
you have had this open late model out. You've been able to drive it a few times this year. Have you been pleased with the nights that you've had it out? Do you feel like you've steadily improved each and every time that you've gotten behind the wheel?
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten a lot better here in the last, 3-4 times out. Big thing is if you don't start out front with these guys, it's really tough. So qualifying decent and running good in the heat race and starting towards the front in the feature, that's probably the key to this whole deal. I mean, starting 20th and coming to the front in this it's not quite as easy as the USRA Limited. So there's a lot of competition, and it's hard to pass. These cars get aero dependent, and it's just a lot different ball game.
Well, let's talk supporters and sponsors. Now, you've got 2 cars. Do you have supporters that are different for each race car, or are you bringing sponsorship packages from the same businesses to both cars? How's it working out for you this year?
I guess they all help out. None of them are super picky on which car's on the track, I don't think. But I got to thank my wife, first off, for letting me spend a lot of time in the garage. We've had 2 cars here now for the last couple months, and it's been pretty tough a lot of nights where not in the house much working on 2 cars, especially if I wreck one. So I got to thank her, my daughter, too, for putting up with me. My mom, my dad, my uncles, Tim and Steve Eisenberg for giving me the opportunity to drive their car. Mike Soibert, he owns a lot of our limited late model stuff. Custom Fabrication Repair, they've been a big supporter here with open cars. So Complete Filtration Resources, they support all the racing stuff. That's my uncle. So we got Hospital Vendors, David Dillman and Son Trucking and Excavating, Flow-Right Pipe and Sewer, Furnish 123, Cochran Auto Service, Midwest Repair, Buffalo Saloon. Gosh, I hope I'm not forgetting any, but
they're all equally important, though, aren't they?
Oh yeah, everybody helps out whatever way they can, and I mean I really appreciate it because it's financially a huge burden. So if it wasn't for these people that help out all the drivers at the track, it'd be really tough for any of us to be there. So
well, let's focus in on the Rumble by the River 40 presented by Herco Companies and Stone Machinery at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. I understand that every racer's goal is to win. You want to get out there and you want to win. But you've mentioned that you're still kind of getting comfortable with this car. You're learning how to really push it. You're going to be up against some strong competition. So what would you be looking at for a positive result for you? Are you simply looking for good qualifying? Are you thinking top 10? Are you putting any sort of expectation like that on your performance during the Rumble by the River at MTS?
I guess I would like to see a top 5 and race for the win. I think we got the equipment in the car to do it. The driver just gotta make the right decision on the track. Car's fast. We've led a couple big races this year, and the drivers made mistakes that have given it away. So I feel like we're there. I just got to not make mistakes, and I mean, I want to go out and win. That's what I want to do. That's why I go out there. I don't want to go out and say I'm going to run 10th. You know what I mean? So that's our mentality, I guess.
Lance Hofer hoping to bring his winning ways from his USRA late model success into this open late model competition, which will be taking place at Mississippi Thunder Speedway during the Rumble by the River 40, presented by Herco Companies and Stone Machinery as part of the WBAM Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series. Lance Hofer, thank you so much for joining us this week on Thunder Talk. Best of luck during the Rumble by the River 40.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Hey, race fans, don't forget, it's the Rumble by the River 40, presented by Herco Companies and Stone Machinery. The night is highlighted by that $5,000 to win WBAM Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series main event with support green flag action presented by the Buffalo Saloon USRA Late Models, the Horman's HVAC USRA Hobby Stocks, Black Horse Bar & Grill USRA B Mods, and the USRA Stock Cars. Now, the Dirt King Late Model Touring Series has crowned 5 different kings in 7 events at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Those kings have been Jake Tim, John Canta, Dustin Sorensen, Rodney Sanders, and Chad Mader. Will Lance Hofer be able to add his name to that ever-growing list and sit in that golden throne with a crown on his head and be crowned king of the Rumble by the River 40? Well, you'll have to turn out and watch at the track. Front gates open at 5:30. Hot laps for the Dirt Kings and their qualifying sessions start at 7 o'clock. Heat races begin at 7:30. Hope to see you at Mississippi Thunder Speedway for the Rumble by the River 40, presented by Herco Companies and Stone Machine.
That was Thunder Talk, keeping you up to date on everything going on at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Thunder Talk is powered by Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
You ever notice that when you're on a fishing trip, you drive your boat all the way to the other side of the lake because you think that's where the best fishing is? And the people staying at the cabins on that side of the lake, well, they come and fish where your cabin is. You don't have to drive a long ways to catch the big fish. And at Arcadia Motors, you don't have to drive a long ways to get the best deal on a new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram truck. The best deals are right in the bay next to your cabin. Take the short, scenic drive to Arcadia Motors. ArcadiaDodge.com.